story time. One day, the Creator decided to take a walk through the world and to gaze upon all that He had made. And while he was out in the forest, enjoying the sound of the pine trees and the feeling of the sun on his skin, he heard in the distance the sound of singing. You see, for the world was very new at this point, so this was a very strange sound. It piqued the Creator's curiosity, and he went to explore. After walking for a time, the Creator came to a clearing, and he stood at the edge of his pine trees, and he heard the singing. He looked out through the plain, and he saw a human settlement. The humans had come outside today, and they had lit great bonfires, and they were having a celebration. They were doing as he had created them to. They were singing and dancing. And so he decided to wait with them. And in time, it began to get late. And he began to daydream. And in his daydream, he looked up into the trees, and he saw sitting around him the hundreds of thousands, millions of birds he had created. For at this point, he had not given birds their songs yet because the world was still new. And so he looked at his birds and he wondered to himself, maybe they would like songs. So he turned to the other direction. He called out to the great birds and he said, "Birds, would you like to be able to sing how the humans do?" And all the birds of the forest began to go into a great cacophony, screaming out to the Creator, "Yes, please, 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 we would love to be able to sing and dance how the humans do. Please, Creator, give us our songs." And so, knowing he had more work to do, the Creator gathered himself and he started his way back to his hut. And on this great long walk back to his hut, he began to think to himself, what have I gotten myself into? For you see, there were a great deal of birds, hundreds of thousands, maybe even 1,000,000 birds that the Creator had made. How would he think of a song to give them? But he took his time, and time does many things. Time allows us to think. And so the Creator waited for 2 months before he decided to again take another walk and hear more songs sung by the humans. And as he came out of the clearing again, he saw all the great birds in the trees. And he turned to the birds and said, "Birds, I've done it. I've thought of songs to give you. But there needs to be a way to decide how each of the birds get their songs." And so the Creator had the idea that there would be a great race in 3 days' time. And so he sent out all the strong birds, all the ospreys, all the eagles, all the pelicans and hawks of the world to go and inform all the birds around that there would be a great race to decide who would get what song. And so after 3 days had passed, the pelicans had flown over the ocean, the eagles had gone up to the highest mountains, all the birds came back to this clearing. And the humans on this day decided to come outside, and they were terrified. For the once black pine trees had turned brown, and the many eyes of the billions of birds were now looking back at them. And at this moment, the Creator came out of the woods, and he announced, "Ready, set, and go." And all the great birds flew up into the air. But you see, not all the birds had actually gotten there at the same time. You see, the first birds to arrive were some of the early morning risers. There were robin and killdeer and sparrows there, but who also had gotten there earliest was one of the eagles. For you see, he had finished his mission early, and he had told the birds all over the world about the great race. And so he had shown up on time. And he began to gloat to the other birds about how mighty he was, about how broad his wings were, about how high he would fly, about how the Creator must surely give him the greatest song because he was the greatest bird. And he gloated so long that one of the birds who had overslept and had almost missed the start of the race, the hermit thrush, had shown up and had heard the eagle gloating so much that he decided to play a trick on the eagle. For the hermit thrush knew that he was not strong like the eagle, he was not fast like the falcons or the hawks, but he was smarter than them. And so while Eagle was gloating, showing its big broad wings and beautiful back feathers to the other birds, Hermit Thrush jumped on Eagle's back and hid between his great massive feathers. And so when the creator had come out and announced that the race would begin and said, "Ready, set, go," Eagle Thrush with his small little talons grabbed onto Eagle's feathers as hard as he could, and Eagle shot up into the air. All the great birds did the same. The robins and the pigeons took off first. And the birds began to fall into their order. For it was not just about size and strength, it was about willpower. For you see, birds like Blue Jay and Vulture had shown up to the race. And you see, Blue Jay is a very petty bird, inclined to bully other birds and steal their food. And so Blue Jay got bored with the race and he gave up early. And so the creator rewarded him with a very screechy song that is just kind of okay. And Vulture, even though he's big with his massive wings, he's lazy. And so he got hungry and decided to come down early, and creator gave him a very awkward song, something you wouldn't want to listen to. But as the race continued and more birds dropped out, the songs got better. He rewarded Mockingjay with that beautiful song. He rewarded, I don't know, whatever bird you think is pretty with their song. But you see, Eagle kept flying. And in time, all the other birds abandoned the race except for Eagle, who went as high as he could, as high as the clouds, all the way to the stratosphere, where the blue becomes white and you can almost touch outside the world. And Eagle looked back at what he had done, all the other birds he had conquered, and he thought to himself, that was great. I sure showed them how great I was. And he began to descend from the heavens. And at this moment, Hermit Thrush looked out from Eagle's feathers and jumped off his back. He began to flap his tiny wings as hard as he could, making it out of the stratosphere, touching the stars. And he came upon something. He came upon a great hole in the sky. The whole Sky Woman had fallen through. But he did not know this. He just thought it was interesting. So he flapped his hard wings as hard as he could, and he made it through the hole. He went up so high, he fell down, actually, on the clouds. And he was somewhere beautiful. He was somewhere that the sky people were. And he knew this, for he could hear the great songs of the sky people. He could see their bonfire, for it did not belch black smoke like ours. The clouds poured out of them. And so he knew he was in trouble. He knew he was somewhere he shouldn't be. And so Hermit Thrush hid himself. And he waited. He waited until those sky people had danced themselves drunk. They sang until they couldn't even move anymore. And Hermit Thrush took this opportunity to jump back through the hole Sky Woman had fallen through and to go back to Earth. But Earth was a long way away, and he had a lot of time to think, and that's what Hermit Thrush does best. He heard the songs the sky people were singing, and he decided to copy them. For the race was over. The great creator down on Earth had given all the other birds their songs already. And so if he showed up last, creator would know something was wrong. And so on his way down to Earth, Hermit Thrush began to get nervous, because what would creator do when he learned that Hermit Thrush had cheated? He didn't want to be in trouble. And so instead of going back to the clearing where the other birds were singing their songs, showing off to each other, trying to dazzle the humans with their feathers and new songs, Hermit Thrush went into the woods and hid himself. And he went as far as his tiny little hopping feet could carry him. And he went up to the biggest tree he could see, for no one could see him from the bottom. And he sang. But Hermit Thrush didn't know how loud he was, how beautiful his song was. And when he opened his mouth and those beautiful notes left, that harmony came out of him, all the other birds of the forest went quiet. For they had heard nothing this beautiful that the Creator had given them. This was the song of the sky people that Hermit Thrush had stolen. And so, even now, that is what Hermit Thrush does, is it hides itself deep in the woods, afraid to share its song with humans and birds alike, because it doesn't know that the Creator forgives it, that the Creator does not care. And this is how the birds got their songs. Oh, what am I doing? This is probably done by now. I probably burnt something. Oops. My biscuit's a little bit more done than I like it, but it's just kind of a whatever thing.